The thumb rule is that you are struggling for survival in the first 0 to 100 journey, which is, say, 100 employees. After that, you are responsible for the families and the lives and the careers of those 100 people. And you don't have an option not to be compliant, not to prioritize corporate governance. And that, wow, explosive. And that switch happens in that journey. And a lot of founders, if you wait, a lot of companies wait, I will do this at the time of IPO, I will build a board. Before my IPO, I will start putting ESG in place. I'll start thinking of diversity just before the listing. But that's too late because the bad habits and the bad culture and the policies have gone across the system. So you need to start at least by the time you have 100 employees in really building processes and systems around compliance, corporate governance, because there is a responsibility. You know, I started up 15 years back where entrepreneurship was considered to be unemployment. And if you got somebody to come on board, my first employee ever is here with me. You know, when she had to join the organization, she had to really convince her family that this is not the greatest career nosedive of her life, joining a startup. Now, in the last 15 years, we've come from there to it becoming aspirational on shaadi.com. There are parents looking for people working at startups and looking at entrepreneurs to get their kids married to. That evolution around startups being aspirational has come at a large cost. And that, I think, is a responsibility as an entrepreneur to make sure that we don't go backwards in this reputation that we've now managed to build as a responsible set of organizations. And which is why I think it's super critical that by the time you are 100 employees, you start having those processes in place. And I feel that, you know, there is a lot that founders can do also around diversity because you're building a culture from scratch, right? So one of the biggest reasons women get left behind from the top layer, the CXO levels, is because organizations don't know how to promote women. And that's because our performance management systems are messed up. You know, if I ask you a question, I'm a runner, right? If I ask you, who's faster, men or women, what are you going to say? It's a question. Who's faster, men or women? How many of you say men? I mean, people are not raising their hands, but they think men, right? How many of you say women? Wow, okay. I'm happy to see all the women standing up for women because that's another debate we had. Do women stand up for women or not? But the question is that what is the distance? If you're talking about a 100-meter or a 5-kilometer, men are faster. The moment you come close to a marathon, the gap really narrows to under 10%. And then you talk about more than 100 kilometers, women are faster, you know, because there is resilience, there's grit. Mothers are the fastest in ultra marathons, the 200 kilometers and above. So it's all about the context, right? The moment your performance management systems have assertiveness and networking as like the top 2 criteria, women will get left behind. Now, startups have the ability to rethink these performance management criteria and say, what is it that we can do to have women getting treated fairly in this performance review system so that they have a chance to come up to that CXO level, because women do make great leaders, not in the traditional definition of leadership, which was an alpha, which is about, you know, being a genius, authoritative leader, but they bring in the vulnerability, they bring the humility, which Ayushman was talking about. And I think just changing the narrative on how women are reviewed in organizations can actually float up more women and help us get through that glass ceiling as we talk about.